Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to properly launder your knitwear at home. Contrary to popular belief, knitwear, and especially high-quality knitwear, can achieve quite a bit of longevity if cared for properly. I always say that the lifetime of any garment can be measured by the number of times it is sent to the dry cleaners. This couldn't be any more true than for knitwear. Absent sending it to a truly professional dry cleaners like Ray Fabric Care in Scottsdale, Arizona, the dry cleaning process of most local dry cleaners is quite rough and can reduce the overall lifetime of your favorite sweater. Luckily, knitwear can actually be quite easily washed at home and to much better results. Hand washing knitwear near the beginning of its life also helps settle the fibers and minimize the chance of pilling later on. From that point on, you should wash your knitwear 2 to 3 times a year, with one of these being right before you put it away to store for the summer. In today's video, we actually have 2 pieces that perfectly illustrate just how long-lasting knitwear can be. The first one is a jumper from the 1970s. This was actually lent to us by Ronnie Chu of Colhays Knitwear. We filmed a video or live stream with Ronnie Chu of Colhays where he talked about the characteristics of fine knitwear. Now, this piece was actually the piece that inspired him to start his company. It was his father's jumper that he remembered his father wearing whenever he was young. And this has been immaculately cared for by hand for over 40 years. You can see that it looks as good today, if not better, to be completely honest, than it probably looked new. The second piece, of course, is a piece very near and dear to me. This is my late grandfather's Christmas sweater. I remember my grandfather, Daddy Boy, always wearing this on Christmas Eve as he hosted our annual family Christmas dinner. And this piece, again, well looked after by my grandmother, and you can see it's pushing probably 30 or 40 years old and is in absolutely exceptional condition, except for a few stains that I think I may have gotten on this last Christmas. So in today's video, we're actually going to wash this piece here using products from the laundress out in the warehouse completely by hand. So whenever it comes to caring for your items at home, a quality detergent is actually quite important. That's why we carry the full line of laundry detergents from the laundress. This is designed specifically for hand washing wool and cashmere at home. I use this for all of my wool and cashmere socks, which I hand launder at home. And then in today's video, we're going to be using it for my grandfather's Christmas sweater. Now, what I like about this product is that it's very gentle. It is formulated using natural, very gentle detergents, and then has various other essential oils to help recondition and hydrate the wool and cashmere fibers. So this is what we're going to use in today's video. There's 2 other great products specifically for knitwear from the laundress that I certainly recommend. Of course, these are available online at kirbyallison.com, and they're designed to help take care of pilling. One of them is a sweater comb, and then the other one right here is a sweater stone. Very similar to the sweater comb, except it's a larger block. It's basically just an abrasive surface that you can use to pull off the pilling from the knitwear. Now let's talk a little bit about pilling. Pilling is caused whenever the shorter fibers pull loose from the yarn, which is normal on even high-quality knitwear. Now, the higher the quality of your cashmere or wool knitwear, the less you may find pilling happening. It is still going to occur in the beginning of the garment's lifetime as those shorter fibers pull loose. But if washed regularly, this should reduce over time as those shorter fibers are brought to the surface and removed, leaving only the longer fibers. Washing, therefore, remains the best way to minimize pilling over the lifetime of the piece. However, if you are short on time and want to quickly remove pilling, we find that running a cashmere comb gently over the surface of the parts of the sweater that are most affected can pick up that pilling and remove it from the sweater itself. If you have any specific questions about how to launder knitwear, of course, let us know in the comments of this video. Otherwise, let's get started laundering or hand washing my grandfather's Christmas sweater. So for one, there are a few stains that we are going to try to remove. And again, simply soaking this in the water with the cashmere shampoo should help us here. There's a few stains right here. There's a little bit of pilling, but I really suspect that will settle once we wash it. So the first step is going to be recording a few important measurements. Now, the reason this is important is because knitwear being knit can stretch or shrink a little bit during the hand washing process. So if something is kind of stretched out of shape, you can actually reform it into the proper shape after it's been washed and while it's drying. So it's really important to record these measurements so that after it's washed and while it's still wet, whenever we lie it out to dry, we can ensure that these measurements are being respected and that it's going to dry into its original or at least intended dimensions. So I've got a note card right here, a pen, and measuring tape. The first measurement I'm going to take is right here across the chest. I'm going to do this where the bottom of the sleeves meet the body of the sweater. And this is the chest. It's 21 inches. Second, we're going to measure the total length of the sweater. This is 26.5 inches. And then lastly, we're going to measure the length of the sleeves. And it's not super important how you take these measurements as long as you do them consistently before and after it's been washed. Here I'm going to take this just where the sleeve kind of meets the collar all the way down. Do this in inches. And this is 32 inches. So now that we have the measurements recorded, let's go ahead and wash this by hand. All right, so here we are. So I've got 2 different buckets of water. I've got one I'm going to use for the shampoo, and then a second one that I'm going to use to rinse the sweater out after I'm done. So first I've got our Laundress Wool and Cashmere Shampoo. Now reading the instructions on the back, it says that if you're hand washing something, to just use 2 capfuls. You can also use this in your washing machine if you want to. For something like socks, you could easily put them in the wash. So there we go. You know, you could just eye it if you wanted to. So there we go, look at that. Good enough. All right, so let's get that out. Okay, 2 capfuls. I'm going to dilute the shampoo. Now, if you don't have any wool or cashmere shampoo at home, you can use a baby shampoo as well. Okay, so I've got my sweater right here. I'm going to turn it inside out. Really, anything you're ever laundering, socks, knitwear, it's always best to turn it inside out before you do so. Okay, so we're going to completely submerge this. We're going to allow this to soak for 2 to 3 minutes. And then after it's soaked, we're just going to gently massage the garment. Again, you don't want to apply too much pressure because, again, knitwear is quite delicate. So the less agitation, the better. That's why it's always best to do this by hand. Okay, so this has had about 5 to 10 minutes of soaking plus some gentle agitation. So next, what I'm going to do is then transfer this from the water, the now dirty water, that has the cashmere and wool shampoo into the clean water to rinse it. So I'm simply just going to hold this up. Again, I'm not going to wring it out. Knitwear, of course, being very delicate, you would want to do that. And I'm just going to gently kind of compress this to try to get as much of that shampoo out. Okay, so now we are back into the clean water. Now this is just tepid water, room temperature. And we're going to essentially do the same thing here. Gentle agitation. And just get as much of that shampoo out as possible. Now, the beauty of the Laundress Wool and Cashmere Shampoo is it's all natural, plant-based detergents, just some natural oils. So if you don't get all of it out, it's really not a problem, but you do want to try to get as much out as possible. So the next step then is going to be to lie this out to dry. Now this is very important. So you definitely do not want this drying on a hanger or any type of drying rack. It is essential that with knitwear, it has an opportunity to dry on a completely flat surface. So here we have a large island. If you're at home, you could do it on a table. I recommend putting the piece of knitwear on a towel. So this is simply a bath towel from home. Okay. So we are going to lift this up, allow as much of that water to drain out as possible. Again, I'm not wringing this. I'm just applying medium pressure to try to get as much of this out as possible. But again, really, this just needs to have time to evaporate. Okay, so it's still inside out. Again, it's quite heavy right now because it's waterlogged, so you want to be gentle. So this is where it's important to reform the piece of knitwear. So I've got the measurements right here that I took inside the office before we washed it. I want this really as flat as possible. And then this is the step where you're going to validate the measurements. Again, if you need to stretch your knitwear a little bit, you can pull it out. If you need to shrink it, kind of gather it together, you can certainly impact the dimensions of knitwear, plus or minus 10% during the drying process. So my chest measurement is 21 inches. So this is measuring kind of right at 22. So I'm going to just kind of gather that together. All right. The length was 26.5. So this is right at 26.5. And then the sleeves from the top down were 32. So that's interesting. So this has shrunk quite a bit. So we are going to stretch that out a little bit. Let's see how that is now. So there we go, 32 inches. Let's make sure we've got the same here. So again, this is right at a bit longer. So let's gather this a little bit. 32. So there we go. We've got this laid completely flat. Again, put this over here. And so we're simply going to allow this to dry. Now, depending on the conditions, it could take 24, 48, even 72 hours. So I recommend just letting it sit and then coming back to it here whenever it's dry. Now that that sweater is drying, a quick note on sweater storage. Now, the best way to store a sweater long-term, of course, is folded and in a sealed garment storage box. We have one, of course, that we've designed that is an exceptionally high-quality garment storage box. This one is made from a really thick corrugate material, or actually cardboard. Of course, it perfectly seals up and then has a nice file card holder on the front so that you can label what's inside of this box. So if you're storing your items out of season, I highly recommend a garment storage box. It's going to help, of course, keep dust from settling and then help any moths or anything else from attacking that piece. Now, if you prefer to hang your knitwear, of course, we also have a sweater and polo hanger. This is something we designed specifically at the request of several customers. Now, during in-season storage, you can get away with hanging your sweaters, but you really need to be careful on the quality of the hanger. Of course, because knitwear is soft, it's prone to stretching and forming shoulder bumps, so you really want to take care in terms of the quality of hanger you use. Now, our Kirby Allison hanger project sweater and polo hanger is designed specifically for this purpose. It's available in 3 widths, ensuring that you can size the hanger properly to extend all the way to the shoulder. But even more importantly, we flock the shoulders of these hangers, and what that allows is for the hanger to grip the garment and to prevent it from sliding down the hanger. It also has a 1.15-inch shoulder flare, ensuring that the sweater is properly supported. So if you're someone that really enjoys hanging your softer knit items during the winter, take a look at our Kirby Allison Hanger Project sweater and polo hangers. So once your knitwear is completely dry, you can turn it right side out and then either put it back in your closet or put it away to be stored. As I just mentioned, if you're putting this away for long-term storage, it's very important that it's cleaned. Again, the cleaner the garment, the less likely it is to attract any moths, which are naturally attracted to the oils and the dirt on your skin. And then of course, folding it up, putting it into a garment storage box will make a big difference in terms of helping it remain protected against clothing moths. If you've enjoyed this content, please take a look at our YouTube channel memberships or our Patreon page. This, of course, in addition to KirbyAllison.com, is how we support this YouTube channel. I'm Kirby Allison, and I love to help the well-dressed acquire and care for their wardrobes while exploring the world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. Thanks for watching.